France is gripped by a nationwide day of anger as hundreds of thousands took to the streets on Thursday, September 18th, protesting President Emmanuel Macron's controversial budget plans. Strikes and rallies have brought schools, hospitals, pharmacies, and metro services to a standstill across the country. Teachers, hospital staff, train drivers, and pharmacists joined the protests, while teenagers blocked high schools in dozens of cities, signaling widespread public frustration with planned austerity measures. Authorities report at least 94 arrests by midday, including 15 in Paris, with 32 individuals still in custody. Demonstrators clashed with police in multiple cities as security forces tried to maintain order amid escalating tensions. From Marseille to Paris, thousands rallied in anti-austerity demonstrations. Around 15,000 people gathered in Marseille alone, while in Paris, protesters briefly reached the economy ministry, setting off smoke bombs near Place de la Bastille.
We're fed up with paying for others. I'm going to talk to you about my own money. I've been working at the post office for 33 years. I earn a net salary of 1,400 euros. So it's a real struggle. I can't make it to the end of the month. So this has to stop. And it's time for those who have money to pay up a bit.
They reject the policies being implemented, the dismantling of our social protection, the increase in budgets, and in any case, the lack of sufficient funding for public services. In fact, there's a tax injustice because today, people with the greatest fortunes are taxed much less proportionally than everyday people who go to work for these big companies. In fact, we know that billionaires have seen their wealth grow by almost 14 times since 1996. That is to say, it's clear that today there are a few niches, a few people who are getting richer. On the other hand, what we see at the same time is that in France, the working classes are getting poorer.
Macron's resignation and having someone who completely changes the policy, if it's just to replace Macron with someone else who pursues the same policies, it doesn't actually change anything. That's what we're asking for. We're in a context at our ATP of opening up to competition, which is very anxiety-inducing. We know that all the prime ministers we see coming one after another are people who push these projects to dismantle public services, and not just in transportation, but also in hospitals, in education, in youth services, and so on. So that's what we're fighting against.
President Macron and newly appointed Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu faced pressure from both unions and parliament. The proposed 44 billion euro budget cuts, drafted under former PM François Bayrou, have sparked outrage despite Lecornu's promises to abolish lifelong perks for premiers and drop unpopular public holiday changes. Unions are demanding the reversal of the previous government's fiscal plans, increased spending on public services, higher taxes on the wealthy, and a rollback of the pension reform that extended the retirement age. With France's budget deficit hovering close to double the EU's 3% ceiling, Lecornu faces a challenging task, balancing fiscal responsibility with growing public unrest while relying on parliamentary support to push through the 2026 budget. As the day of strikes continues, images of massive crowds, smoke, and confrontations underscore the depth of anger across the nation.
Qui est pour? Baissez la main. Troisième assemblée générale de Gare du Nord, mardi 19h. Les amis,
Balade.